Good morning to you once again on the business desk. At this hour, we turn our focus to the outlook on South Africa's Purchasing Managers Index. And of course, it's after the ABSA PMI saw that decline to its lowest level at 64.4 points. And economists are now saying that this suggests that cost pressures have peaked in the manufacturing industry. That data, which tracks purchasing prices in the South African manufacturing sector, is down to its lowest monthly level since 2019 and drops from the 75.9% that was recorded in November. That decline also stoking optimism among manufacturers and is attributed to lower oil prices and a stronger rand. But of course, challenges including load shedding still remain. We are joined now by ABSA economist Miyelani Maluleke to expand on this one. Miyelani, good morning and a happy new year to you. These figures at least are giving us that little bit of optimism of activity in the manufacturing sector. Let's talk about what is meant by a possible peak in price pressures in this particular industry.
Good morning and a very happy 2023 to you too. It's a very interesting set of results that we got from the latest PMI numbers. I think just to remind listeners, what the PMI is that it's a monthly survey that we do on South Africa's manufacturing sector just to get an early indication of what's going on across activity, cost pressure, whether they're hiring more people, what demand is looking like, etc. And we aggregate all of that into a PMI index. And one of the things, as you point out, was a very strong indication here that the cost pressures that a lot of the manufacturers have felt over the last 18 months are starting to come down in a really significant way. We saw that prices paid index drop by almost 12 points to the lowest level that we've seen since late 2019. I think a lot of us will know that over the last 12 months, especially cost pressures, inflation has really been quite strong. And I think we're seeing a very clear indication here that may be coming down on the manufacturing side, and hopefully we could start to see that being passed on to consumers down the line as well.
You highlighted just a short while ago that this is an early indication of the trajectory that PMI and manufacturing might take in this new year. Let's talk about what's expected then from Stats SA. They're releasing manufacturing production and sales numbers just tomorrow. And the last time we saw this figure, we at least saw an increase in production by 0.1%. Marginal, but it's still a move in the right direction.
Yeah, that's right. So, of course, I think the key thing to remember is that the Stats numbers do lag the PMI a bit, so which means what we're going to see this week is only the November manufacturing output figures. And the indication that we got from the PMI then was that we could actually see production numbers do look a little bit better relative to October, but I think it's something that also needs to be seen in the context of the year that we've had, right, in 2022. It was very volatile. We had a lot of very big supply-side shocks, if you will, from the floods in KZN, from the volatile supply of electricity, and that has had a big impact on manufacturing activity. The indication that we got from November was that it could look a little bit better than October. But of course, I think one of the key concerns that we still have, even beyond the PMI numbers that we're looking at, is what is this year going to look like? Because electricity supply, unfortunately, does remain a bit constrained. The global economy does have some big challenges, and it looks like it will continue to have some challenges over the rest of this year. And that will remain, I think, sort of the backdrop that a lot of manufacturers will be looking at. So it's not necessarily going to be easy, and I think we probably will continue to see this high degree of volatility in manufacturing output that we have seen for most of last year.
And what is it likely to be in terms of the volatility that you speak of and the risk to manufacturing activity, both on the domestic front and on the global front? And I ask this question solely to figure out where manufacturing would be going in 2023. We've come from a period where we saw mining and manufacturing being the leaders of South Africa's economy, and to a period where we saw the effects of load shedding really minimize them to, what they are definitely not in the past couple of years, where we saw them being, huge absorbers of jobs in the country.
That's right. I mean, one of the most incredible things coming out of the COVID shock was that a lot of that recovery was actually led by the manufacturing and mining sectors. So much so that when you look at output levels by early 2021, we were so close to where we were pre-COVID. But, as we got into last year, as you point out, there's more intensified electricity shortages have become a big problem. And I think for me, one of the things that was also really interesting just in terms of power supply was that when you look at last year, it's interesting. I mean, December of last year was actually the worst month of load shedding that we've had, to date. And I think that just reminds us that the situation at Eskom is not getting better, it's not stabilizing, and it's certainly looking worse. And I think that's going to remain a big challenge for a lot of the players in the manufacturing sector, and certainly in the mining industry as well. But I think that even away from the domestic issues that we have, the global economy is under quite a bit of pressure. The IMF has been warning for some time that as much as a third of the world economy could actually be in recession this year. So for those parts of the manufacturing sector that are outward facing, it's going to be very difficult to see the demand momentum from abroad. And I think, as we kind of look at it, it is going to be a fairly challenging year for the domestic economy, and certainly for manufacturers, not just because of domestic factors, but also because of the global context that we're looking at here.
Thank you, as always, for your insights. ABSA economist Miyelani Maluleke talking us through the outlook on the Purchasing Managers Index and its activity in the manufacturing sector based on the data that we got recently in South Africa of an improvement to 64.4 points.